All right, here we are with episode 5 of Just Two People Talking. You got the Bonafide Mike channel here, and today we're talking to local music legend, and I say, or soon to be Phil Salazar, who's been around for a long time. He's got his Eden Burning Band still going on, along with some other bands he did previously, and he's also got some music you can purchase and listen to. So first of all, thank you for doing this, first of all.
Absolutely.
And I guess we'll start off at the beginning then. Like, how did this whole thing come about? How did this whole musical journey start?
The musical journey started with Kiss Destroyer. Back when I was a little boy, and I lived with my grandma, and we were shopping one day at Cress, as we were talking about earlier. If you remember Cress.
Yes.
Right? So we were shopping there one day, and I was a little boy with no clue about rock and roll or anything, and I saw this record with these 4 guys in it, you know, standing on a mountaintop, and it said Kiss Destroyer. So I asked my grandmother if I could have it, and you know, she resisted because she didn't like the way it looked, and she says, "You better keep your grades up, you know, or you're not going to get this, or I'll take it away from you." So I've always tried to be a studious guy and educate myself, because I've always remembered that stay smart, right? So I got the record. And I took it home, and I remember that night I played Detroit Rock City for the first time, and it was I had a Hondo electric guitar that I had gotten previously, and it wasn't a real Gibson, it was just a Hondo from the Sears catalog, about $50 at the time, and that's how my whole journey started. And I wore that record out until I just couldn't play it anymore, you know, and that was my favorite record of all time growing up.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty good influence.
Thank you.
And so, did you learn that guitar though by yourself, or did you take guitar lessons?
Yes and no. I was a drummer for a while in middle school, and I actually pursued a marching band for a while, but drumming never really stuck with me. I kept gravitating back to guitar, where I've remained to this day. I've always loved Gibson guitars. I've always loved the people who played them. You know, Steve Marriott from Humble Pie, Ace Frehley from Kiss, Peter Frampton. You know, all these guys that were huge growing up, and we would buy these vinyl records, and that to me has always hit me in the heart, you know. So I've always had a passion for Les Paul guitars, you know.
That's cool. And is that when you decided, okay, I'm going to start a rock band?
Yeah. I mean, back in the sneakers rock and roll days, if you remember that, over on Perrin Vital, sneakers was the big place to go.
Oh yeah.
And that's what people would do on Monday nights. They go support live music. You know, I think that our phones and technology have ruined a lot of it. I mean, back then, there was no social media, there was no iPhones. All we had were flyers that you'd see on cars, and you'd see records in stores, and your outlet was going to shows. You know, that's why I think, you know, sneakers on Monday nights was the big thing. I mean, local bands had it made back then, man, because they were packed every Monday. And that's how it all started for me.
So when did you see Cyrus, though?
Oh, Cyrus? Michael Vasquez. I mean, worked with him, Sound Warehouse, before that. And I worked with you briefly, you know, those were the good old days. Like we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
the movie Empire Records. That was always something that reminded me of those days, because we kind of lived it, you know. All those characters in that movie, we went through that.
Oh yeah,
Shoplifters and crazy people at the registers, and, you know, dramatic, you know, young girls at the registers flipping out. I mean, all that stuff. So it was a good time. But back then in the record store days, that's how people connected, you know. I mean, musicians would go in to meet other musicians, and we'd all hang out and listen to records, and it was just a good time. And back then, Michael Vasquez from Cyrus, I had met him over on the Military Drive location, and I told him the other day on the phone, I was talking to him, that he was a huge influence up to this point in my life, because he played in Cyrus, and he was on the scene, and I didn't play in a band. I just knew who he was. So he sparked off a lot of that influence. You know,
Yeah.
So I ran with my musical dream because of watching Cyrus.
He had a pretty funny story about a certain flyer that you drew.
Yes.
And can you elaborate on that a little
I
bit?
don't want to elaborate on it.
Because I think he already told us
He
the
told
story.
me that on his episode.
Yeah.
And, if you all want to watch the episode with Mike Vasquez, yes.
Yeah.
I was quite a caricature artist, and I would make fun of him quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think he still has that picture somewhere in his possession. So you might want to ask him to show it to you all sometime.
Okay. So then, fast forward, we go into, is it Decadent Slam then, or is it Voodoo?
Voodoo Children and Decadent Slam were my early projects back in the early 90s, kind of, you know, when sneakers was around. Pariah was big on the scene, and so was, other bands. But Pariah was another big influence on me, And I remember we had opened for them several times.
Yeah, you had Juggernaut, Watchtower.
Well, yeah, I think that was a little bit pre-Sneakers. That was a little bit more before then. But they were still huge, I mean...
Oh, Jason, yeah.
Yeah, Jason McMaster, Bobby Jazombek. All these people that we know and love, and they're good friends of ours, It's because of those guys that, I pursued my love of music,
Oh, that's cool. So from there, was there a break between that and the Eden Burning?
Yeah.
Or did that...
Yeah, there was a brief break where I didn't do anything for a few years because I was confused. I wanted to sing, and I didn't know how to do it. And one day when I formed my band, and my drummer at the time, Doug Merritt, I said, I'm going to sing in this thing. He goes, you can't sing. I said, yeah, I'm going to try it, man. So I went up there, and I fumbled a couple of times, and I made some mistakes, and, I just learned along the way. That's how you master your craft, though. You just get in and throw yourself into it, And eventually I got very comfortable getting into that stage persona. And to this very day, I just do it flawlessly. Like, I have no embarrassment. I just get up there and do it, So.
Yeah, so I've seen the show a few times, and I even saw a couple of those the BPC shows, which was also another.
Well,
that's something else.
Bozo Porno Circus was it was kind of a cash cow for a little bit, and but it's also a time in my life where I don't want to go back and visit it. It was theatrical for me. And I thought, this is the closest thing to Kiss I'm going to get, the fire and the...
It was kind of like Genitortures.
Yeah, and it was fun, don't get me wrong. And I had to manage that band for a bit. And it was quite the feat to manage, 13 people all going in different directions. And the first show I did with that band, I had never even met those guys. Literally, my friend Ken had said, just learn the music, get the show booked, and I'll show up and do it. Okay, so I'd go up on stage with a bunch of people I had never met. That was the weirdest time musically. How do you do that? Just go up on a stage, do a big show with people you've never met. So that was strange. But BPC was a time in my life where it's like, okay, I did it, but I'm gonna push that aside because I wanted to get back to what I was about, which is just rock and roll, stuff I grew up on.
So when did you record that Eden Burning album, the vinyl? Because I have a copy of it.
Banged Up and Dirty?
Yeah.
That was done, I want to say 2017. And it was done on a poor man's budget. It was done in Matt's garage. My guitar player, Matt Gonzalez, who plays in the band called Noise now. And he had a garage with his whole studio setup. So we did most of it in there. But we did that with a budget, a very small budget. We didn't have a big budget, And that vinyl came about through a promotion that we ran on the internet. So basically, it was paid for by crowdfunding. So it's not like it came out of our pocket. So I'm just glad it happened, and I'm glad the record was actually produced. And you can still find them here and there. We actually have a couple left for sale, so we still have them.
So how have you been able to keep that Eden Burning going for so long? Because most of the local bands will last 2-3 years maybe, and then they become something else. But you've been able to keep this one.
I think really the honest way to do this and bands with longevity like that is just to be friends. I think I've seen people who find people in ads and stuff like that, and they don't ever last. I've seen supergroups form. Like here I come in my band, and here comes this band of a bunch of people who everybody knows, and they just go boom, 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 bam, they implode and they break up. And here I come like a little turtle. I just keep going. So I think longevity has to do with your friendship with your bandmates. Yes, I've been through a lot of changes in my band. I think I'm on guitar player number 3 now, but my bass player Shane has been with me for quite some time. And my guitar player JB, he's a young guy, he's 24, but he replaced my friend Matt Gonzalez, who was with me for quite a while, and Johnny Rod, who was actually from the band Top Dead Center. He was my first guitar player. So I've been blessed enough to say I've jammed with some really talented people in this town.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So now what would you say what is missing in music now? Like, what's your take on the whole AI thing, how they're making music artificially?
I think it's scary.
It's not real.
No, it's not. There's an app called Suno that all these musicians are downloading. SUNO, Suno. You can literally sing into it or hum into it or strum guitar chords, and it'll write a whole song for you in like 3 minutes. It's pretty scary. I don't really agree with it, but I know that some bands are using it. I think what's missing from music now is mystery. I don't think there's any mystery in music anymore. I mean, if you remember growing up, all you had was the concert coming to town and you heard it on the radio, you know. Now you can reach the artist on Instagram. You can send them a message on Facebook. So I think all that mystery is gone, you know. It's just too easy to connect to people at a higher level of, you know, of musicianship like that.
That's true. There's no corazon, as they say.
There's no corazon.
It's just stale. It's just pushing buttons. And I'm going to send you this drum track, and I'm going to send you this, and we just do it like that. But it's not organic, like a room with real people playing real instruments.
There's a magic with getting into a room with your friends, and you know, even when I've taken breaks from playing, it's like, yeah, I miss that, man. Just getting in a room with my buddies and just cranking up a guitar, just having fun, you know. That's where the magic happens.
Oh, you know,
again, if you take it back to our days of music, you know, we had that mystery, man. We had flyers, and we had the radio ad, and we had the concert coming to town. That was it. You couldn't get near that artist. You couldn't get near Eddie Van Halen. You know, it was impossible. You know, now you can reach somebody on Facebook. You know, it's just the mystery's gone.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you that. How were those shows when you went to the Whiskey to do?
Whiskey?
Yeah, when you went. I know you went out there.
We did. That was. I mean, people ask me like, "How'd you play the Whiskey?" It wasn't hard. Believe it or not, anybody can do it. You just got to have a professional bio, a professional kit, good photos, and somewhat decent music. And yes, they're going to check your followers on Twitters and stuff like that, you know, because that matters. But I sent them an email, and they responded. They said, man, we'd love to book you here. We liked your record. We really did. And I got a phone call from the booker, and we booked it. We went down there, and we got to do the Whiskey and the Rainbow. And I've done the Rainbow twice, actually. Both times. And it was really cool. It was a really cool experience. I can at least, you know, say, wow, I actually played the Whiskey. One of my most heartfelt moments, I remember driving up Sunset Boulevard in the morning, and we had just gotten there, and they were doing the marquee outside, you know, the big marquees, and they had done the Eat and Burning sign, and I saw the guy putting the last, you know, ING on Burning. He was still up there, and we had just pulled up in the morning. I'm like, wow, that was that moment where I'm like, I can't believe after all this time from that Kiss record to now that happened.
It's almost like surreal, right?
It was surreal.
Am I seeing this?
Yeah, it was very surreal, man. I was like, this is where that record got me. That lifelong journey, that guitar that my grandmother bought me, you know, from that Sears catalog, got me to this point.
And being on that stage of legendary people that have played there since years.
I remember being in the dressing room upstairs. It was this hallway that goes up, a long stairway, and it was a big dressing room there. And I was sitting in that dressing room, and I told that guy that was in there with me, he worked there, I said, man, there's some stories in this dressing room. He goes, actually, right there where you're sitting, he goes, Morrison needs to get lit right there, man. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. The Morrison needs to sit in that corner and just get lit. I thought, wow, that's just, it made me shiver, man, you know. Another cool moment at the Rainbow was when we ran into Lemmy from Motorhead.
Classic.
That was classic, man, because I remember we were setting up, and I looked at my drummer at the time and said, is that Lemmy back there? He goes, sure the fuck is. It's like, yeah, so I got a photo with Lemmy. I got to meet the guy, and it was an incredible experience going up to those areas.
Wow, I don't even know what I would say to him.
Yeah, I was actually comfortable. I walked right up to him and shook his hand, and, you know, it's like, hello, mate.
Oh, that's cool.
He reeked of leather, and he reeked of cigarette. I can remember that. It was a very strong scent, you know. I mean, but then again, it was a Rainbow. He hung out there like all the time. So
I think, didn't he used to live upstairs?
No. He lived back in the back area. There's an apartment complex back there, and that's where he lived. But he also got his mail at the Rainbow. He was like, yeah, he actually had his mail delivered to the Rainbow, and he's one of the only rock star in the world that would pick up his mail at the Rainbow. That's cool, yeah. But yeah, I got to hang out with him, shook his hand, and had a beer with him.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So now you said you're at Guitar Center, right? So what happened with the Sam Ash thing, and then the
Sam Ash
and Guitar Center transition?
Yeah, that was a very sad transition, man. I mean, I was with Sam Ash for 20 years, and I miss it. You know, 20 years is a long time. But we noticed a pattern about, they closed down in July. So go back a year before that, and I remember that sales were slowing down pretty bad. They were going down. We started stocking the place with used gear just to try to make ends meet, and you know, our inventory went from that many guitars to that many guitars. You know, and then all of a sudden we're gonna fix it all by closing some stores. You know, okay. I told my crew at the time, I said, "This is the end, man," because that's not going to work, you know. And sure enough, about 3 months later, they announced that the whole company was going down. So for a little bit of time there, from July to actually right now to where we're talking today, Friday or this week, my band Eden Burning is doing its first show since that time, because everything was chaotic for a little while, you know, from July to here, because my dad had gotten sick. You know, he had passed away in October, and you know, I had gotten my real estate license, which is another thing I do, and everything. I was trying to adjust into that world, and then Guitar Center was trying to hire me, but I was still negotiating the right position, the right pay, until I finally jumped into that world, and then trying to learn their language of how they do things, you know. So it was a rough couple of months there. So I had told my band, we can't play for a while, man. This is getting just too rough, you know. I got to balance my life out before I start getting out there to play again. So I'm actually excited to be playing this Friday. I'm really excited. We'll be at Fitzgerald's with Emilio from Arrowhead. Yeah, we're going to be out there with him. So, and Emilio's another guy that's been on the scene for a long time. You know?
Yes.
So yeah, he's had all kinds of bands. He's got the Scorpions tribute band going on, you know. But these are all people that I've known forever, man. They've always been go-getters, you know. They've always pushed, and they've always had something going on in the music worlds.
So what are your future plans now? What do you plan to for as far as music and your personal business life?
I think Eden Burning, I'm going to keep doing it, but I've noticed lately, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there hasn't been many shows coming through here as far as like that rock and roll stuff that we grew up on, you know, like Faster Pussycats and, you know, like LA Guns and Great Whites and people like that. I haven't seen much of that coming through here.
No.
It's been a little slow right now. So Alfred Mejia is one of my good contacts, and he usually gives me all the good shows, you know. And every time I talk to him, he's like, "No, they're bypassing San Antonio, man." So I'm like, "Wow." So I'll still keep playing here and there. I'm actually going to do some acoustic stuff here soon, and that's going to be another thing I'm going to do. I think just really, I think success is what you make it. I think, you know, whether it's just a couple of shows here and there, whatever keeps you happy is successful. You know what I mean? It's what makes you happy here. And I think last year we played a lot, man. We played like almost every month we're doing something. And all of a sudden it came to a grinding halt when Sam Ash closed, because everything was turmoil, you know? And I had to balance my life out again. But I think right now I'll start with Friday, and I'll see where it goes, you know? As far as my professional life, I don't know. I'd like to venture more into real estate, but I'll tell you what, Mikey, it's a lot, man. It's not easy doing real estate. It's a lot of continuing education. It's a lot of classes. It's a lot, you just get your license, and it doesn't happen like that. It takes a while to build up to that, you know. So I'm constantly going to trainings and stuff like that. So just recently I got my first listing, so I'm kind of happy about that, you know. But hopefully I can get into that world 100%, so I can free myself up to pursue more music. That's the goal.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. So what is the best way that people can find out when you're playing or what you're doing, or what's the future projects?
I still have the Reverb site that's been up for a long time. It's reverbnation.com/Eden Burning. So I got that one, and I got the Facebook Eden Burning site, and then I have Spotify. We're up on Spotify as well. So now, the thing about Spotify, if you type in Eden Burning, you might get the Celtic band also from the 70s. Remember them? That happens a lot.
I don't think I heard of that.
Yeah, there's a band called Eden Burning that was out in the early 70s that were Celtic. So sometimes people get those two confused. So Eden Burning San Antonio is the one you want to go to. There's a song called Think About It on there. And there's a song that we put out a couple of months ago called Let's Have a Good Time. So those two are up on Spotify at the moment.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess, do you have any other parting comments? Any funny Sound Warehouse stories?
Any funny Sound Warehouse stories? No. I have a lot of horror stories from bands I've played with, but nothing on the...
Any memorable in-stores?
Oh, man. Those are the days, man. In-stores, nobody does those anymore.
No.
I can't really think of anything offhand. I remember bands coming through and drinking beers and just having a good time, man. I remember the Queensryche in-stores. Those were always cool. A great bunch of guys, man.
Yeah, I remember I was there for the Y&T one. That was good, and so was that Armored Saint.
Armored Saint, yeah. I remember King Diamond. That was another one I remember.
Oh yeah, the Southside one.
Southside one.
Yeah. Vasquez was talking about that.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. But yeah, I wish the days of big in-stores would come back. Nobody does them anymore.
No.
Nah, it's a thing of the past, man. But it's a cool thing. At least we lived through it. At least we had it. You know?
That was a golden era. I told Michael Vasquez that too. I said we saw stuff that nobody's ever going to see Again, we lived that.
This is true.
That was a golden era. That'll never happen again. We saw all the cool stuff.
We saw the cool stuff.
Yeah.
We did see the cool stuff. As far as music, though, man, just, for musicians wanting to be in bands, stay positive, get out there, just do it, man. There's going to be some horror stories. I'm telling you, man, it's not always what you think it is. I've had some nightmare situations. Like, I'll give you one real quick, is Ace Frehley. We opened up for Ace Frehley at Vibes. And I remember the promoter said, don't bring your gear. It's all backline. So okay, cool. So we show up to this gig, and the roadies there know nothing about this backline. And we're about 20 minutes to going up on stage, and they're asking us, where's your gear? So I remember my drummer, Doug. Remember Doug? Fuming, angry, pissed off, slamming crap around. He was just mad. And I thought, there's no gear, there's no drum set. Let's go home, boys. I'm like, no, we're not leaving. So I remember storming through the backstage area all the way to the front to the mixing board. And I remember screaming at the sound guy. I said, get me the damn manager of whoever is running this stage. And so he comes up, he goes, what's going on? Where's your gear? You're up in like 20 minutes. I was like, dude, we were told it was backline. I have an email right here on my phone. It's like, I got so mad that we actually went up there and used LA Guns' gear. So they let us use it. They weren't very happy about it, but they actually let us fire up LA Guns' stuff. So we got up there and did it with their stuff. And they were not happy about it, but I wasn't happy either. When I'm pissed off, I'm pissed off. But, things like that are going to happen in the world of music, man. They don't always go as smooth as you think, so... and that's because they said, you guys sold a bunch of tickets, so you're going to get the prime slot. And then, of course, don't bring your gear, and that wasn't exactly true either, So, words to the wise, always bring your gear.
All right. Well, I guess on that note, we'll wrap it up. Once again, thanks for even doing this.
Of course, man.
And for meeting up and giving us some really good information.
Thank you.
And I guess we'll keep an eye on what's coming up with you. And you said this Friday.
This Friday. Yes, we'll be at Fitzgerald's this Friday night. And what date is that? That's going to be the 25th?
5th.
The 25th, yeah, this Friday night.
All right. So everybody go out to that show now.
All right.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Phil. And I guess we'll just keep on rocking, and we'll just keep up and see what else the world has to bring us.
All right, we'll see you soon.
All right.
Thank you, friends. Thanks for all the support through the years. Rock and roll.
Cheers.